Where else would you rather be? I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association. Welcome to the People of Penn State podcast. Each week on the podcast, you can expect to hear the voices of Penn Staters talking about what they're passionate about, and you can expect to feel the pride and the power of the Penn State Network. The People of Penn State podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts or your podcast app of choice. Go ahead and subscribe and give us a rating. Ratings and reviews help other Penn Staters find these great stories and stay connected to Penn State through the Penn State Alumni Association. I'm excited about today's guest. Today on the podcast, we're going to talk to Kerry Small. He is the Executive Director of Success with Honor, an NIL collective that supports student athletes in all 31 sports here at Penn State. Early in his career, he got his start with Marriott. He's worked in several small businesses. He's been an entrepreneur. He's run an internship program. He is a State College native and moved back to the area to run small businesses, but all along the way to help Penn State. And so, Kerry, welcome to the People of Penn State podcast.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Kerry, let's start right at the very beginning. State College guy. How did you become an Indy Lion?
Well, back in the 80s, it was the sort of thing that many of us did who were local. And the reality is I loved Penn State growing up, going to sporting events, doing activities on campus. That was kind of my childhood. And so when the time came to pick a university, I was already in love with Penn State. And so coming here was a easy decision for me. Although I applied and got accepted to a couple other schools, the reality is this is the only place I wanted to go to.
Yeah, everyone needs a safety school, Kerry, but I think you made the right choice. So,
Right.
As a student, when you were here on campus, what were you involved in?
Probably a wide variety of things. Maybe sometimes a little bit too much. I was involved in Greek life, and I was also in student government, and I was a cheerleader for 3 years. Involved in the Hotel Restaurant Marketing Club and a few other clubs. I made sure that I was really active, and I was also working part-time to help with my expenses. And so it was a very chaotic time. But I used to tell people nobody had a better time at Penn State than me because of my experiences, whether it was the clubs or the fraternity or the cheerleading experience. Those were all things that really were impactful for me and helped solidify my love for Penn State.
So if I'm getting the timing right from your time on campus, did you and Curtis White overlap as cheerleaders?
No, we did not. Curtis was right after me. And so
right after you.
Yes.
Okay. And how about cheerleading at a national championship?
I didn't know you were going to go there, Paul, but yes, we did. We did have that experience. We went to San Diego and competed and had a great time. That meant we didn't win, but we had a nice showing for Penn State, being in the top 8. And yes, it was a great experience all around. And that national championship trip was great. And we also got to go to the bowl games, 2 bowl games. And I'm sorry, that's probably what you were referring to.
It was what I was. Hey, go ahead and brag. Our cheer and spirit program don't get enough attention for the competitions that they're involved in. So go ahead and brag about your national championship, but maybe we could touch a little bit on the other national championship.
Yeah, the other one. Let me think. What was it? Yes, the football ones. That bracketed my time here at Penn State. The experience of being able to go to the bowl game was great. I actually watched the last one from here in State College, right. But that era of the 82 to 87 when they had those 2 championships and really a great university feel of camaraderie was on campus, and I'm sure it exists today. But just a great time to be involved, and seeing that performance at the highest level was rewarding.
Yeah, if you were like me, you probably shoveled a foot of snow that morning here, yep. The morning of that. It's funny what you remember and why you remember it. I remember for the 82 team, I was a little too young. I was about 7 or 8 years old when they won that national championship. But by 86, 87, I was fully immersed in Penn State, and we lost the 86 one, but I remember the morning of the national championship game in '87, we got a huge snowstorm in northeastern Pennsylvania. And my dad made me shovel the driveway and then walk down to the store and buy batteries in case we lost power so we could still listen to the championship game on our radio. So yeah, I don't know why. I wish I had calculus or physics in that part of my brain, but that's the memory I have.
Well, that's planning ahead too, and commitment.
Absolutely. So you come to Penn State, you're involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. What did you study and what was your initial career goal?
My initial goal was to be in either business or hospitality. And so I did hospitality management, and I thought that was going to be my pathway to run my own restaurant. And then I ended up getting interested in hotels. And ultimately, I finally graduated in liberal arts because that gave me a little bit more flexibility at the end of my studies. And I ended up taking a job at Marriott Corporation in a small division called Conference Center Management. And that was essentially private hotels where I did sales and marketing. And because it was so small, I had to learn a lot of things, a variety of skills fairly quickly. And so my studies, both in hospitality management and liberal arts, really helped prepare me for having to solve problems that were in a variety of backgrounds. And so I'm really appreciative of that, the education that I got.
This is the People of Penn State. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined today by Kerry Small. He's the Executive Director of Success with Honor. We're going to get to talking about Success with Honor in just a minute. But I want to, so you talked about your early career at Marriott, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think your career can best be described as an entrepreneur or somebody who's been heavily involved in small business development. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I think beginning in '94, I started my own logistics company. And so I ran that until 2001 and sold that and moved back to State College for quality of life and to raise my kids. Since then, I started another logistics company and started a technology company. And so working on basically the same concept of providing an opportunity to develop people. And so whether it was my logistics company where we tried to have our teammates be, improving their skills, or it was through our technology platform. The one that really represents it is the internship program that I ran for 12 years, where we had about 390 interns from virtually every major come through the program. And for me, being able to give them real world opportunities to provide support for nonprofits, small businesses, and startups. That was really something that I enjoyed doing, and I felt it was impactful. And that kind of brought together all my skills of, being able to, spend time patiently with people and hopefully provide them with opportunities to grow.
And then back in February, you were named Executive Director of Success with Honor. Let's start right at the beginning here, though. What is NIL? I think a lot of people are hearing about it, but don't quite understand what the acronym is or what it actually means for the landscape of college athletics.
That's the big question, Paul. And I think most people don't understand it. It's a little bit confusing. And when they read the headlines of some student athlete getting $13 million somewhere, it's really a negative. And so what happens is people really have a misconception as to what it can be. And it's simply this. In the past, student athletes couldn't make money by doing internships or jobs. And so recently, name, image, likeness became a way for them to earn money, to promote products and themselves in a way that they can be compensated at market value. That's really the essence of what it is. And as it's applied, whether they represent a business or a charity, they can be compensated for that. And so name, image, likeness is simply a way that these athletes can make money and that fans can support them all above the table.
So that was about 2 years ago. Supreme Court made that decision, saying that students could capitalize on their brand, if you will, right, and be able to generate that money that they weren't able to generate previously. Then, shortly thereafter, the word collective starts to get added into the conversation. So, what is an NIL collective?
A collective is one part of the solution. It's essentially at schools, they are not affiliated with the university, but they're concerned alumni and fans who get together. And what they do is provide a vehicle for donors to give the money into this collective, and then it's distributed to the athletes. The reason this is helpful is there's a lot of regulations that need to be followed, whether it's state or federal regulations, the reporting, the disclosing, following up to make sure the athletes make the appearance at market value and are compensated at market value. That's really important. And then finally, having them be fiscally responsible and file their taxes and things like that. That's the mechanics of why a collective exists. The other reason why a collective exists is essentially because people don't understand NIL, and there have to be entities out there promoting what NIL does, because people can put their money in a variety of places. They can give it to the Alumni Association, the Nittany Lion Club. They can give it to other charities. And this is just one other way to support students here, that if the collective is able to tell the story and educate people, some people will care about that, some won't. But the collective's job is really education and facilitating that interaction. As I mentioned, Paul, it is only one part of the equation on NIL. There's also, we have athletes who are highly sought after athletes who have a great profile. Many of those athletes have agents that represent them, or businesses can go directly to them. And so that's another part of the solution for NIL.
So that, I think that's a great overview of what NIL is, what a collective is. So how does Success with Honor then fit in that marketplace? What is your niche? What is the impact that you're trying to have here on Penn State?
Great question. One of the things that happened about a year ago when this started, our Success with Honor started, the name was selected because we felt it represented the best in Penn State values. And after preliminary discussions with folks who felt like, NIL as just giving money to the athlete, that appeals to some people, but to other folks, they wanted this experience of NIL to be a benefit to the student athlete. So they get something out of it that's not just transactional, but transformational. And so when you look at Success with Honor, the name, that means competing at the highest levels and doing it with integrity. When it comes to NIL, we structured ours in a way that allows the success to be not just giving the student athletes money, but rather giving them opportunities to have developmental experiences, to impact businesses in a positive manner, or to support charities in a way that improves their donations and raises their awareness while developing skills in the athlete. That's the essence of it. We want to use that process that we're a little bit more focused on being able to have the money go to the student athlete in exchange for something that's not just a simple tweet, but rather we focus on the developmental experience overall. And I'll give you one example. We recently did an event with Five Star Heart, 501c3, and Lehigh Valley Health Networks. And we had 125 kids come in from the Lehigh Valley who most have never stepped foot on Penn State's campus. We had 15 football players, and before the event, we told them how they could get the most out of the experience in the day and how they can help these kids, as these kids are going to have certain challenges. And the kids had a great time. They developed skills. They were given encouraging statements by the football players. And afterwards, the kids went to campus and they got to see the football facilities, which is, of course, for a young kid, is a great experience and incredibly impactful. And then when we spoke to the athletes afterwards, they felt that experience was a really rewarding one. And 14 out of the 15 said they wanted to do that again, because when they get to engage, you see the magic that happens where, we keep forgetting these guys are great athletes on the field and their skills are tremendous. But the other thing is they're still young and they love to help kids, and the best in them comes out, and being able to provide opportunities is not just what's good for the athletes and good for the kids, but a lot of our donors want that. That's what they've told us is, we want them to have experiences, and people have said, I'll give you a donation through our 501c3 if in fact you're able to do things like that. And so that's a key component. There's always going to be people who are able and willing to support someone for a more straightforward approach, and that's great. But our model is a little bit more focused on even just little bits of support in that way that's developmental.
So I'm living in Allentown. I'm out cutting my grass, listening to the People of Penn State podcast, right? How can I help? How can I get involved as an alum and helping the efforts of Success with Honor?
Paul, you can stop your lawnmower. We don't want any accidents, and then go to your computer, go to your phone, and you can go to our website, successwithhonor.com, and you can get involved in a couple different ways. Number one, if you have a business that can benefit by having these great Penn State athletes represent your brand, they bring a lot, not just as athletes, but as that connection to Penn State. That's a tremendous thing. The businesses we're working with see that value. That's number one. If you have a business, if you want to support the athletes directly, you can do it either by putting money in, join one of our club levels that allow you to be participating, essentially supporting these student athletes, being a sponsor. And you can join up on that side. You can give your money there, and in return, you get merchandise and participation, special access. Or on our foundation side, we get money from individual donations that are tax deductible. And there's also donor advised funds. You can contribute there to the team of your choosing. And what happens is we then send the athletes out to do those sorts of experiences that benefit the charities. On the nonprofit or the foundation side, our mission is to support charities around the Commonwealth. And by your putting the athlete out there to raise the awareness, to whether it's through appearances, media, social media, your donation there allows that to happen, and it increases those donations. It increases the support for those charities and really amplifies it, because these athletes stand out. And so whether you donate through the 501c3 foundation side, it's on the right-hand side of our website, or on the business side where you join a club and you give money there in return for stuff, or you have your business come in and partner with an athlete, we arrange that. That's the two pathways forward. And it really benefits the athletes by giving them these opportunities. And one other thing, everyone feels like it's someone else that's probably jumping in and helping, but the challenge is having the person listening to this or going to our website and having it resonate with them, and they ask questions. That's the person that can help us, whether it's the $25 a month or the big donor. We have to have everyone. And the benefit of Penn Staters they are people who care. And so by going to the website and supporting one of those two ways, that would be what I would say. And you could probably go back to your lawn mowing after that.
That's great. Kerry, talk about the impact of NIL, because you support all 31 sports. Right. NIL means, and look, I'm just outside looking in, but my perception is that NIL means something different to the football program than it might to women's field hockey or swimming and diving. Talk a little bit about why the impact is different across sports, but right. Why it's still important for all student athletes.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest misconceptions is somehow by offering 31 sports, it waters it down. And the reality is this: everyone understands football is the king here. Football is the big dog, however you want to phrase it. It is our primary focus. We focus our sales efforts on basketball and football. Football is the one that's the most revenue intensive. It's the highest profile. There's no doubt it drives a lot of the awareness of Penn State and the university. And so that's part of it. But the other way to look at it is this: we have people who have given money to other sports, or people that have said that I will give. I have one person right now who said, I'll give you $50,000 right now for this sport, and I'll raise another 400 for it, and that'll be my goal this year. And you know what, that person, their passion is the sport they're supporting. As I mentioned earlier, the people donate where they want to. And so by taking away that option, you're alienating people, because there's still 29 other sports that many people want to support. And even though we're not spending a lot of time on the sales effort, our website makes it easy for someone to come in, do a drop-down menu, and support the sport they're choosing. That's important, because while the needs of people are very different, in a case of, let's say, women's lacrosse, well, two things. First of all, there's 850 student athletes and only 378 scholarships. That's limited by NCAA rules. Now, private schools can get around that by tuition, but or tuition breaks, but we don't have that option. And so most people are surprised to learn that not all of our athletes on any team are supported by scholarships. So there's a lot of ground to make up there. And then even for sports that don't have a real high profile, their needs for many of them are books or dignity money or money that's going to go help offset some of the tuition, because most of those students are representing this university without being supported. And when it comes to scholarship players, such as football or basketball, that's only the start of the expenses. Many of these, I've had the great fortune to have met many of these student athletes. I just was at practice the other day, and for both sports, I've been talking to them. And the reality is many of those kids are supporting their families. And although people back in the old day, we'd say, well, it's enough that they get a free ride, but that's a misconception now. Not only it's not where the market is, but also we have student athletes that are supporting their families. Their families can't come see the games because it's too expensive. And so that money that we think, that extra money, isn't something that it's not needed. It absolutely is. And so whether they're on scholarship and we're providing a little bit more for them, or it's people who are getting no support, it's an opportunity to support them that way. And so that's the way we're looking at it. Every sport has different needs. Our energy is behind football and basketball because they have the greatest need, but we have plenty of people that are donating through our portal to give to these other sports. That this is a vehicle that we would not be doing people a service if we didn't allow it. That's our philosophy on it. And it's the Penn State way to be able to have people participate. That's our objective.
Kerry, once again, if people want to learn more about Success with Honor, where can they get that information?
Well, a few ways, but the main one's going to be going to our website, successwithhonor.com. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're coming out with a TikTok because the younger folks want that. But following us on our website, that's going to be the central clearinghouse where you can see upcoming events. You can see what we've done in the past. We're posting videos from all the student engagement. That's going to be where you find out more, and you can ask your questions. Everyone has a lot of confusion around this, and I get that, but we're hoping that our website can be the central clearinghouse for that. And because we've been able to support over 350 student athletes, you're going to see some great stories there. And so hopefully it's something that resonates with you, and we really appreciate it. It takes everyone to be involved.
This is the People of Penn State. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined today by Kerry Small. He's the Executive Director of Success with Honor. Kerry, we like to have a little bit of fun at the end of every podcast. And so I'm going to throw you a couple quick hitter questions. You just tell us what comes to mind first for you.
Okay.
All right. Your favorite class at Penn State?
Let's see. Favorite class, Film 180.
Film 180. My daughter's taking Film 180 right now. So
it's a classic.
If you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be and why?
Anyone living?
Anyone at any point in history.
Oh boy. Well, Christ would be one. I'd also give a living one. Let's see. Well, we'll go with Christ on that.
All right. Your most unusual We Are moment. You've lived outside of Happy Valley. You've traveled. Where did somebody either yell "We Are" to you, or you yelled it to someone else that kind of caught you off guard or caught them off guard?
Absolutely. I was going down an avenue in Berlin, and I had my Penn State gear on, of course. And from across the boulevard, I hear something very faintly, and then they said it a second time, and it was a bunch of Penn Staters going the other way. And so I did it. I said Penn State back. So Berlin was definitely the one that was interesting.
That's awesome. Your favorite Penn State sport?
Favorite Penn State sport, football. Grew up loving it. Love it today. Love the direction we're headed, no doubt.
And your favorite flavor of creamery ice cream?
Scholar Crunch. I don't know why you would pick anything else, to be honest.
Well, Kerry, we want to thank you for allowing us to share your story on the People of Penn State podcast. We're truly grateful. And we hope and wish Success with Honor a lot of success.
Well, thank you, Paul. And thanks for getting the word out about NIL. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Want to thank everybody for listening. Want to thank our producer, Vincent Longaro, for all that he does behind the scenes, Abby Clark for working with all of our guests to make sure that we are bringing great Penn Stater stories to you here on the podcast. If you like this episode, I hope that you'll subscribe to the People of Penn State podcast on your favorite podcast app of choice. And while you're there, go ahead and give us a rating and drop us a review. Share the podcast with friends. Help us spread all these great stories to fellow Penn Staters. If you're a member of the Penn State Alumni Association, thank you so much for your support. If you're not, what are you waiting for? Go to our website at alumni.psu.edu today, and you too can become a member of the world's largest alumni association. Thanks again for tuning in and for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are